This is Lucas from Texas. So the political divide in America is pretty strong, but it's being egged on by two very powerful extremist cults, the Antifa mob and the Trump supporters. And then there's some people underlying those who kind of work in the shadows on the internet and spread misinformation and extremist ideas. I'd be interested in seeing you compare and contrast those two cults using your extremism gradient and give your thoughts on their impending expansion and pervasive influence on both sides of the aisle. It's a pretty scary thing, but someone needs to talk about it and give sort of a comprehensive insight as to how, they're just influencing everything, and it's getting kind of scary. So, thank you.
I'm not really equipped to analyze Antifa because I don't know much about it. I do know that it's largely decentralized. There isn't really an organizational structure. But I suspect you know that I've talked about the extremism gradient. And in the extremism gradient, I talk about, which is a model, by the way. In that model, I talk about level 1, level 2, and level 3 cults and how they can be decentralized with no hierarchical structure to speak of, but still be cults. You see that in the anti-vax movement, in the flat earth movement, and things like that. So I'm not going to use that as a cop-out. I'm not going to say that Antifa is not a cult, but I'm not going to say that it is either. Let's just take a look at my website real quick. So I outline the layers of extremism. Level 1 cults are decentralized and non-focused. Level 2 is decentralized and focused, which would be your cult of personality, like Donald Trump supporters, for example. And level 3 cults are centralized and hierarchical, like Jehovah's Witnesses, Scientology, Mormonism, Heaven's Gate, so on and so forth. One of the key qualities to decentralized cult is role model formation. When there is no hierarchy, one naturally forms. So with Donald Trump supporters, there is a hierarchy, a loose one. Donald Trump is the leader. The members get all of their information from Donald Trump. They may get information from outside sources, but no matter what, if Donald Trump's information contradicts what they see with their own eyes, they believe Donald Trump every time. That is a level of information control that makes it a cult, de facto makes it a cult. With role model formation, what you'll find is when there is no hierarchy present, when there's nobody outlining doctrine, telling them what to believe and what's correct and what isn't, people kind of come into those roles organically. Like if you're dealing with an anti-vax group, for example, there may not necessarily be a leader of that group. There isn't. It's largely decentralized. There is no hierarchy to speak of, but the people who push out the most propaganda, the people who are most sure about their opinions and go deepest into the rabbit hole, those tend to become the leaders of the movement, the leaders of the groups. And a lot of the time, level 1 cults, the decentralized, non-focused ones, like anti-vax groups, for example, they tend to be very small pockets, and sometimes moving from one small pocket to another, you'll find serious inconsistencies in between them. Like one anti-vax group may have 500 members on Facebook, completely disagree on a subject with another. One of them may be a left-leaning anti-vax group who also adopts veganism as one of their precepts. And you'll find another anti-vax group who's right-leaning and hates vegans, thinks veganism is stupid. So you'll find a lot of diversity between the pockets, but within the pockets, you'll find there's usually a strict hierarchy that's formed, and they have very clear-cut doctrine, basically, that the leaders, the most extreme members, have formed out. The point behind all of this is it's possible that Antifa is a cult. That's a possibility. If it is, I would say that it's not a cult as a whole. I would say there are probably extreme little pockets, just like I was describing with the anti-vax stuff. You would have to get very, very specific and narrow it down to specific groups, like specific Antifa groups, not just Antifa as a whole. So anyways, like I said, I'm not qualified to talk about whether or not Antifa is, because I don't know anything about them.